to the Horror Hangout, a podcast for free bearded film fans to watch the best and worst horror movies of all time. My name is Luke Condor with Kate. I'm joined by my regular co-hosts, Mr.
Ben Errington
and Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. I'm back, guys. How you doing?
Yeah,
He's back.
Yourself? All moved?
Yeah, all moved. The internet works again. We didn't blow the house up. Noticing now we're recording, it's a bit echoey in here. I'm just gonna have to sellotape some egg boxes to the walls, but yeah, we're in. We're happy. It's all good.
Live from Scotland for one night only. Not for one night only. You've moved there permanently.
Yeah, for the ongoing future.
For the foreseeable. Andy Conduit Turner.
Yeah.
Again.
Have you changed anything about your life since you've moved to Scotland, other than the fact that you've moved? That's one big part of your life, I suppose.
No, I mean, I've changed broadband providers. I mean, that's a major change.
That's a big move for a lot of people, you know. That can be life changing.
It's a big thing. But other than that, no, nothing's really that different.
If you go to Greg's, they do a macaroni and cheese pie.
Do they?
Well, they did in the Edinburgh one a few years ago, like 10 years ago, actually. It's probably still there if anyone's buying.
10 years ago, it's the same one. They've still got the same one left. No one's gone in to get it since because no one wants it, only you.
Yeah.
I'll commit to that. Macaroni cheese pie sounds wonderful, or it does sound like the
lot of carbs.
Most dangerous food for burning your mouth on. It feels like that would be Burn City.
Yeah.
That's going to be hot forever.
I don't know. I feel like macaroni and cheese is quite thick. I don't know if something more liquid seems to be hotter. It's got the ability to shoot out as well when you bite into it.
Yeah, it dribbles out almost as bad as a meatball marinara Subway sandwich. Popping out.
Dangerous foods. Now, I feel like a mac and cheese, because of the viscosity that it has, if you bite into that and take a bold bite, juggling that round your mouth.
Did you say viscotishy?
Viscotishy. Yeah. If you're juggling that round your mouth, to try and it. That's going to just stick to all the surfaces. You're just going to burn more surface area. And then when you swallow it, if it's too hot, it's going to burn you all the way down, like when you have a hot tater.
Yeah, and you feel it like burning it. You know, in the Dread movie, when he goes hot shot and he shoots that guy in the mouth, it's exactly that. Hot spud. Right
in his Lawmaster, he's got just a potato oven. He gets them out, loads them into his gun, fires them down people's throats.
Yeah, and then he puts it to his next mode and he shouts, "I am the slaw." And he follows it up with some coleslaw.
All the layers.
Why are we not working on 2000 AD right now?
No, not for lack of trying. I always submit to those open submission things.
You guys are missing out, you fools. This is the content you could be having.
Come on, guys. God's sake.
He gets demoted, and that's when he gets in trouble, so he has to work in the canteen. That's what happens.
Not a canteen again. And then he burns his mouth on hot tea. I burned my mouth on a hot fish cake literally just before we recorded tonight, and I'm still feeling the pain. So we're going to work through it there, guys. I'm going to power through. Don't worry.
Real life horrors, dangerous foods. That's the first topic of the day.
Yeah. Sometimes crisps can be dangerous if they go in on the wrong angle and they just catch you.
If you like ninjas refusing to go and with the knives.
Yeah.
Like a pirate on a sail with a sword. They're like that.
Crunching down. And they'll sometimes get you right in the gun line.
No, don't.
Although it's less likely to cause injury, but more likely to cause annoyance. Bearing in mind we're primarily a film podcast. Yeah, when you popcorn.
Popcorns are the worst. I think.
When you bite into a rock solid popcorn kernel, my life flashes before my eyes.
At what point do you? Do you give up, or do you go? I'm powering through this kernel.
No, I stop immediately, and then if anyone's being annoying at the cinema, you can spit them at them like that Birdo from Super Mario 2.
Oh, yeah. Happens to the best of us. Yeah. Any horror news? I'm asking myself. Any horror news, Ben? Well, I've seen some stuff.
I'm glad you asked.
I'm glad you bloody asked. Don't know if you saw that Mike Flanagan and Netflix have done another thing. I don't know if it's another horror series, but is it following on? Is it linked in any way to the haunting ones? I don't think so. Maybe.
Midnight
Mass
Mass
part of the
is called, right?
series.
Yeah, so it's called Midnight Mass. Tells the tale of a small, isolated island community whose existing divisions are amplified by the return of a disgraced young man. Disgraced, and the arrival of a charismatic priest, which is much better.
And dancing to the shots. I'm the charismatic priest.
Hey, I'm the charismatic priest. So it looks like it's got a lot of the same cast members. What's his name from E.T. with a questionable mustache on his face.
The alien from E.T.
No, what's his face from E.T.?
Oh, I know what you mean. He's
Elliot.
in all of the. Yeah,
Elliot.
He's in all of them. Yeah. Who else have we got?
Is his wife in it again? Like Katie Siegel?
Yeah, looks like she is. I can see a picture. I feel like I've still got a bitter taste in my mouth from The Haunting of Bly Manor, and it's almost made me not want to bother with this.
I don't know. I really liked it. Like I thought it started more slowly, and to the end, it's not really a horror film or a horror series in the same way as Hill House was. But it was quite a nice story, and it had one in particular visual that like really stuck with me afterwards. You know, there's that bit where you've both seen it, right, all the way through.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Spoilers for Bly Manor, anyone who hasn't. But you know, there's that bit where the guy from The Bodyguard is having a row. The bad boyfriend's having a row, and then he just gets grabbed by Kate Siegel and strangled out instantly, and it's like.
Oh yeah,
he's dead in a few seconds, but it's just out of nowhere that she grabs him. That has really stuck with me to the point where, you know, completely irrationally, and horror movies don't usually stick with me. But then I came to, like, after we'd finished the series, about a week later, just woke up to go to the toilet in the night, and I was about to step across, and like in the house we were living in, open the bedroom door, and you step out directly across into where the bathroom was, and I just thought to myself, someone just grabs me and strangles me to death right now.
Throws me into the lake.
It throws me into the lake.
It's annoying, isn't it? Because you'd be like, oh, unfortunate. Oh, and I'm a ghost, am I? And I can't leave these grounds.
Yeah, be a faceless ghost and have a weird sort of time compression thing going on.
Yeah.
How irritating. But yeah, I liked it in the end. But anyway, sorry, Ben, I derailed you.
When it comes around to that new Midnight Mass series coming out, I might feel differently. I might give it a chance. I can't remember. When's it coming out? This year, I guess.
Halloweenish, maybe that'd be sensible.
Halloweenish. That's my favorite time of the year. Halloweenish. It's the best time. And people would say Halloween has officially begun because in a lot of the shops that usually sell all the Halloween gubbins, I'm not talking outfits and stuff. I'm talking about like all the stuff for your house. They've already got like significant Halloween sections going on, and I feel like. Well, it's August now, but July feels incredibly.
Once that back to school stuff has been swept away, it's downhill all the way to Halloween, right? For the shops.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope all the way down.
November 1st, week of fireworks in the shop, and then it's time for Christmas again.
Just knock bloody firework on its head now, isn't it? Just knock it on its head. We've seen enough videos of poor little dogs terrified.
Yeah,
let's just all get together and go. Let's just turn it in.
You can get your dogs thunder jackets, which I mean, they're scared of fireworks and stuff. I don't know what putting like a thunder jacket on them is gonna.
I feel like the thunder jacket itself sounds pretty scary.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like it's gonna
get this thunder jacket on. No,
I think it's actually just a hug for your dog, right? It's just like
got you. Just a bit of it's like a tight jacket, isn't it? So they feel all secure.
Yeah.
Just give your dog a hug yourself. They go, I'm too busy. Got things I can't really be giving you a hug for the duration of this fireworks display. Why do people set fireworks off like in the daytime as well? What's that about?
Well, kids.
Dangerous at night. Yeah. Got to be in before dark.
I remember one time years ago, first time I lived in a house away from my parents, me and a few friends, we got one of those firework sets that's like 50 in one box. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
And we set into the garden. We set the first one off, and the neighbor it went off and exploded. The neighbor poked the head over the fence, was like, "Excuse me, sorry, can you not do that now? My husband's trying to." And then the second one went off.
Oh,
and then she went, "No, sorry, can you just not do it?" And then the third one went off. There was like 50 in it.
50. They're trying to have like I'm so sorry. Like I'm not one of those rude boys you might have heard about, but this was a one-shot deal. So
we did have that exact conversation, but that one sentence took about 20 minutes to get through.
Yeah.
just in between each firework.
I'm really sorry, but it's going to be 50. At the start of every one, she started the sentence again like it was a brand new situation. Excuse me, can you, not in the middle of the day? Oh,
I don't think we said anything. I think we just like, oh, sorry.
Oh, really sorry. Ignore her. She'll go away in a minute.
I've started the process. I can't undo this.
What was her husband doing, do you reckon?
Well, he wasn't asleep. I'll tell you that much.
My husband, who's got insomnia and can only sleep between this time, 4 and 5 p.m. And now you've woken him up, you bastards. And he's got PTSD.
Yeah.
As horrible teenagers, once upon a time, we were at my girlfriend at the time's house, and her dad was running the fireworks for us. And he came in and said, you know, the neighbours over there complained the other year when we had fireworks. So I will give £10 to any of you that can bounce a rocket off their roof. And we used the Roman candles as like, after the Roman candles had gone, we used the pipes that the Roman candles came in as like bazookas. Very dangerous. If you're listening at home, kids, don't do that. That was probably one of the worst things ever.
It sounds great though.
I mean, it felt like an absolute boss firing a rocket out of a Roman candle. It's like army.
It sounds like a good thing to do, but I feel like if I witnessed it with like people I didn't know, I'd be like,
call the police.
Yeah.
I can have that. One of us is going to burn their eyebrows off.
Looking at the thing, just doing like a one-liner, like "you're fired," and then firing the rocket out. What a time! But yeah, bad business. Now I think back at it, probably still dwell on that a little bit sometimes and feel guilty now. But you know, at the end of the day, no one was hurt, and the house was far away. I think he wasn't a bad man. I think he knew it was impossible.
Yeah.
Right. What else we got? Evil Dead the game, which I think we've mentioned once or twice on this podcast. It's set for release now, February 2022, and I think it was delayed a little bit because there is going to be a single player campaign option, which is lovely because good.
I'm happy for anything to be delayed for a single player campaign option to be added in there.
Yeah, because just online only. I think it's got, if you're not much of an online player anyway, it's got a shelf life. Like you might enjoy it because it's the Evil Dead, but then you'll go, okay, I've had enough of that. I'm gonna move on with my life.
Yeah, and you're reliant on there being people on the servers and people that are of the right skill level to play against. Because the problem I have with a lot of online games is, unless you're in day one and learning the maps and getting good, if you miss that initial wave, then you'll go to play a bit later and everyone else is great and you're absolute dog shit and you lose every single time, and it becomes, not saying that winning's everything, guys. I'm saying it's awful and not fun when you never win.
Yeah, it's terrible. I was thinking about this recently. Like, what do you reckon is like the oldest gaming server that people are still like active on? You know, like when PS2 had.
It would be like Quake 2 or something, right?
Yeah, people. I bet people still play Counter-Strike as well on old. Yeah, there'll be things like that, and Team Fortress is getting on a bit as well now, and I bet that still goes.
Oh, that's amazing, though, to think that like there are still people out there playing it, and you log on and there's someone else playing that exact game that you've decided to play at that exact moment. That's pretty intense.
Because they, like a lot of the old ones, they don't have like active servers, do they? You host them yourself when you post games, and you have like networks where you can find games. But yeah, I bet there's some super old ones that you can still get games.
Or random vague games. You're like, surely there's no one around the world playing this, and then you log on and there's loads of people. It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, so that's that. That's nice. Single player Evil Dead. This isn't much news, but there was like a Stranger Things 4 like mini trailer, 30-second thing. So this is obviously something that's got hit quite hard by the pandemic in terms of delays. I think we're supposed to get it at some point this year, right?
Yeah, it was meant to be this year, I think.
I don't think it's officially got, like those kids are going to be full grown adults by the time they get around to this, aren't they? They're going to turn around and everyone's going to have a beard. Well, maybe not 11.
They're going to be older than us.
They're going to somehow they're going to be older than us. Yeah, because I keep thinking, obviously, Ghostbusters Afterlife has got what's his name in it, Finn Wolfhard, and I think by the time he's doing the press for this film, a film he probably shot like 3 years ago.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, "Oh, sorry guys, I can't get up to shake your hand, James Corden. I've got a bad back."
It's be smoking like chain smoking.
Yeah. Sorry, I've got to take this. It's the kids. Yeah, have you done your homework? Yeah.
So this was annoying. So they didn't really say, "Oh, don't worry, here's a release date." They just said sometime soon.
2022, I think. I think it is officially next year now, right?
There we go. And the last piece of news I thought I'd discuss, considering last week we reviewed Old. Did you see Old in the end, Andy?
I didn't get around to it with the movie, but
Not old enough.
I listened to the episode anyway.
Okay. Oh, spoilers.
Yeah. So now I've moved to Scotland. There are what was it? There are more colours, but they're less bright. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Oh no.
Yeah, I enjoy. I feel like I've got what I needed to from that film.
Yeah.
From hearing you guys talk about it, and I'll use the limited cinema time I have while we've got all this things going in and settling in down here to go and see Suicide Squad.
Yeah, mate.
Definitely.
I just feel like you will really. I don't want to oversell it to you because I hate when people do that.
I know. I'll like it. I'll be fine.
It just feels very much like you will enjoy it. I think
it's very Andy. So the last piece of news I saw was a story I saved because I thought we discussed M. Night Shyamalan last week. Why not discuss this interesting bit of news, which isn't a bit of news, it's from the past. Apparently, M. Night Shyamalan had an idea for and conceived his own Indiana Jones movie. So he says, "Oh my God, I mean, it was fantastic. Obviously, Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite movie of all time. So this was a dream to be asked as a kid to go see a movie in a movie." Yeah, so basically, I think he was talking to somebody and there was maybe him going to be making an Indiana Jones movie. I don't know if it was going to be like the Crystal Skull movie, which came out in, 2008, or the fifth movie. I can't think
of many people worse suited to do that kind of film.
But I was going to bring it up and say, what would the M. Night Shyamalan Indiana Jones be?
I mean, I feel like there's already a twist in there. It's like, well, they're not space aliens. They are interdimensional beings.
Oh.
The knowledge was the treasure all along.
My whip's made of bloody licorice.
Yeah, who do you think would be worse than Ben? Or are you thinking who would be? What would his?
Yeah, I'm not saying I think it would be bad. What I'm saying is because obviously, even though he's got a signature style, he still did try and make a blockbuster in terms of like The Last Airbender, and
yeah, good point.
So he did obviously try his hand at an existing property.
What did people not like about that? I mean, I guess it wasn't good for the source material. I don't know the source material.
I don't actually know.
The fans of Avatar: Last Airbender are like, it's got a huge following, and I think it just missed the mark on the aesthetic in the same way that, maybe not in exactly the same way, but the backlash is at the level of like Dragon Ball Evolution. I think it's just one of those things that's incredibly difficult to adapt. Well, I think it's one of those arguments for like animated is probably fine for it to just stay that way.
Can you remember the video of that guy who went Super Saiyan? He's just a guy like powering up on... Yeah, well, he thought he was. I guess he thought he was. It seemed like he legitimately thought he was powering up, and but just never climaxing. But then someone had kind of dubbed it and done the effects to make it look like he had
he was trying to say he was trying to climax and he never quite got there. That is frustrating. Frog it out. Just checking. Last Airbender's got just 1.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
Yeah,
people are just saying. Someone just wrote incompetent here.
That's the shame. Why? And I heard you talking about it last week. I was chatting along to myself when I had my headphones on. But you said, "Oh, the guys aren't responding to me." But
rude.
But, yeah, like that's such a shame with someone like him getting like reviews of incompetent and so on, because his films that hit are great. I will argue that a lot of his films are at their absolute peak the first time you watch them, but a number of his films. I think we were talking about it on the group, like we're going to have to do The Signs at one point, because The Signs is a great movie.
Yeah, I love Signs.
I haven't seen that in a long.
Yeah, maybe it's dated, who knows? But there are bits that when I saw The Signs at the cinema, incredibly effective.
I was going to say that. I saw the sign. Yeah, that's interesting. What would be the most mad version of Indiana Jones? Like, because I'm quite baffled by the fact that like Ben Wheatley is doing what's he doing?
Oh, the Meg 2.
The Meg
He's going
2.
to do a Tomb Raider movie as well. But Ben Wheatley, I feel like he kind of wants to do more of the big budget stuff as well. With Free Fire, that's kind of action orientated. Just one big action piece. That.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to see Ben Wheatley do that kind of stuff.
If you have any worries about what old M Night would do with Indiana Jones,
what does the M
I've got two words: Mister, like M Bison.
Yeah.
But if you're worried about what he would do with it, I have two words for you to make that feel nowhere near as bad. Those two words: Zachary Snyder.
Zachary Snyder.
Zack Snyder's Indiana Jones.
Zack Snyder
Would be
very long. I'd be interested in seeing Zack.
I'd watch that. Snyder I'm sorry.
Indiana
I would.
Yeah, you'd watch it, but could you hand on heart said it would be an absolute fucking nightmare?
Can it be any worse than Shia LaBeouf swinging on vines with monkeys in like he did in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
Some of the monkeys would be robots this time, and there'd be some kind of time loop theory.
Yeah, I'll take that. So that's that. No more news at all. There we go. Has anybody seen anything? Andy, you haven't really had a chance.
No, not really seen very much. I've seen, the Wi-Fi setup screen of all of my devices. I tell it the new Wi-Fi because I've changed providers.
Like that.
Everything.
Do you change the password to your router, or do you just keep it as the jumble of mess? And then
the one to do the login one, it prompted me to change it. So I changed this. Yeah. Normally, olden days. Now I'm talking about the past. I can reveal this security flaw. Yeah, the olden days, it was whatever it was as default. Change me .1.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
I feel like entering a Wi-Fi password on your PlayStation controller is one of the worst experiences you can ever have in your life.
100%. Or searching for something on YouTube, but using a remote control.
Oh,
that's pretty horrible. But like something that's quite niche, so you got to type it all in.
Oh yeah.
And the suggestions just get worse and worse instead of better as you get closer.
And then by the time you finish it, you realize you made a typo on the second letter.
Yeah.
Finish it. Devastated.
In terms of seeing, I've not seen that much because I've been. I bought a book.
You've been seeing the words in that book.
I bought a book. I've been meaning to get it for ages. Was Robert McCammon's Swan Song, which is kind of like Robert McCammon in the 80s horror paperback boom. He was one of the big names, along with Clive Barker, Dean Koontz, Stephen King, and then there's Robert McCammon. His Swan Song book is always kind of put next to The Stand. It's a 900-page post-apocalyptic book that people always say, "Oh God, are you Team Swan Song or Team Stand?" And there's always that kind of thing. And I just started reading it. Just thought I'd just check it out. I'm not going to read it now. It's 900 pages. I've not got the time. And I've read about 300 pages in about 4 days, which is crazy for me. I'm quite a slow reader because it's just so engrossing. I just can't. Like I'm going to bed early just so I can read some more of the book. I'm just carrying it around with me constantly. And
900 pages as well.
Yeah, it's massive, absolutely massive. But it's so good. I don't really know what's going to happen in the end. But it's basically The Stand is like a COVID situation. I've not read The Stand actually. It's like a big cold. That's the thing that kills everyone, right? This one is a full post-nuclear fallout situation. So far, we've been introduced to all the characters. The big explosions happened, and they're kind of coming to terms with like radiation and scorched earth, and so it's absolutely enjoyable, unputdownable so far, I would say.
So your Team Swan Song then? Yeah,
I've not read The Stand. Maybe the thing is, maybe once I've read this, if I go and read The Stand afterwards, maybe it won't feel as good because I'll be like, Swan Song was my first of the two. If that makes sense.
You've chosen your side when you chose which book to read first. Like that's it.
Yeah, you made your bed. You made it early because you want to get in bed to read your book.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really good. That sounds really good. For those of us who are a little bit shy of a 900-page commitment. Has it been adapted anywhere to anything else?
No, and it's none of the kind of stuff has, I don't think.
What cover have you got? Have you got the cover where it's like a horrible looking face in the sun? I'm just looking at some of the covers now. There's like a proper old school looking paperback.
It's a bit weird because Robert McCammon didn't seem to have anything adapted, I don't think.
I'll give him a chance.
No, it's not that one that you're looking at. It's got like a demon face and a woman. A woman.
Oh.
She it's a shame because I think he was coming up against a lot of walls, I guess, in his publishing career, and he kind of in 1991. Around that time, he said he's not going to publish anymore. He's doing stuff again now for the past few years, but it's not been so much horror based. I think it's been more historical thrillers and that kind of thing. But he's absolutely fantastic. His other book, Boy's Life, is probably one of my favorite books of all time. It's an absolute masterpiece, like a coming of age summer horror tale. Great writer and very underread, I think. Under-adapted.
There you go.
That's
Might
great,
have to see if I can either brave a very big read. I'm like you, Luke. I'm quite a slow reader unless I'm on holiday where there's no, if I'm on a beach holiday, like burn through a book, sit there.
Yeah.
I was going to say in the sun, but you've seen this complexion in the shade that I follow around. But I'll sit and read a lovely bit of a storybook then. But otherwise, because reading is kind of a bedtime thing. If I go to bed at bedtime, I'm like 3 pages in, and I'm like,
Well, this is one where I kept normally I get to that point and I'd be like, okay, it's bedtime. But I'm kind of forcing myself to keep on reading the same stuff over and over again because I want to get through it. It's reminded me I think the 80s horror paperback boom is one of my favorite periods of book to read because there's no holding back. It's just insane, dirty, horrible stuff that it's really compulsively readable. Great time for all.
Amazing.
Give that a look. How about you, Ben? Seen any fun stories?
So I saw a couple of bits. I saw The Village because I haven't seen it in a few years, and after the Shyamalan, I was like, which Shyamalan movie have I not watched for a long time? And it was The Village, and I think it gets a lot of flack, doesn't it? The Village, for obvious reasons, especially twists, but it's not just like one twist. There's like a couple of twists and a couple of nice reveals as well. A couple of like really good moments. I think there's some great ideas. Visually, it's really nice as well because it's what's his name? Cinematographer, Roger Deakins. So it looks bloody lovely. I think Bryce Dallas Howard's great in it. Joaquin Phoenix is great in it. The reveal, when you know it, it sort of adds an extra layer of like tragedy to everything. Whereas before you're kind of just thinking about what's in the bloody woods then, and now because there's you're kind of like experiencing everything.
Joaquin Phoenix dressed as a badger. It's still got some proper, like I said, when we said about old, there are some ridiculous silly moments where you're like, what? And the Village has got them. The Village has got them. Not as many as the Happening, but the Village has got them. I really liked I seem to feel like I enjoyed The Village at the time when I first saw it at the cinema. I think that might have been like the very whisperings of the beginnings of like some kind of backlash because there's always a bloody twist, isn't there? But
because this was like what main movie number 4.
But then you also think, don't be such fucking miseries. I hate surprises. Oh dear. You hate joy.
Because if there was no twist, you'd come out going, don't want even a twist, and that's what Shyamalan does the best. Shut up. It was pretty fun.
I think he is genuinely a filmmaker that suffers from the iconic nature of the first couple of films he put out. Whether you're a Sixth Sense person or you're an Unbreakable person, better to be an Unbreakable person. Film. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
definitely. And the other thing I saw this week was I watched the Sparks Brothers documentary.
The Edgar Wright thing.
Which Edgar Wright made. I think I said I'd consider myself like just a casual fan of Sparks. Only ever really known a handful of songs and a little bit about them. But my dad's such a big fan that they've always been like on my radar. So this was just like a really well made documentary. Sorry,
this is going to sound really bad, but I was like, is this like a made up band? I've never.
Oh, no.
I don't know, and I feel like I'm quite.
Do you know what's mad? And I think this is kind of like the point of the documentary. Everyone's kind of saying nobody knows who this band are, but whoever you listen to, whatever genre, maybe not whatever genre, but if you listen to pop music or mainstream like
Ethiopian
rock and
jazz.
roll,
Yeah.
If you listen to Ethiopian jazz, if you track it back far enough, like Sparks are there as an influence for them because they've been around since like the mid '60s. And
I only know so many the one or two songs, but I am interested in the documentary because it seems really well kind of put together.
Really well put together. Loads of great talking heads from like amazing British bands, American bands, and random people. Mike Myers talking about Sparks. Loads of like American comedians and stuff. They seem to really draw like a lot of oddballs towards them, and they've gone through so many different. They sort of chronicle their albums, and they've had like 25 albums or something, and they've like ripped up the rule book and kind of like completely started over almost every 2 or 3 albums. So they're like a really innovative, strange band. And the fact that the keyboard player and main songwriter looks a bit like Hitler is kind of something that everyone kind of goes on about.
Someone's going to take that look back,
Yeah,
put a side part in a moustache.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Charlie Chaplin, and people are going, "No, it's more Hitler."
Yeah, so going back to another past story, it reminds me, we used to work at an office building, again, one of my first like real office jobs. And there was a man at the bus stop who used to stand opposite, and he looked a lot like Hitler. He had like a side parting, and like he had like the little square moustache. And he used to look out, and then it became evident from watching this man. So I wonder if he's done that on purpose. And then watching him for a little while, it became evident that this man was blind. And then I thought, does
no one tell him?
Like, has no one told him, or like, can you imagine though? Like, if he didn't ever have a frame of reference, no one in the history books describes what he looks like. He could just have gone about his life, and no one had ever told him.
How does he? Does he shave? I don't know.
I don't know. Like, literally, it's a man across the road on the bus stop. I wish if I could go back and change one thing, I would have. If I could go back,
snuck into his house and watched him shave.
Quantum leap into my body now. I'd go and find out the truth as to what that had happened.
So I guess the point is, even if you don't know this band, it's a really interesting documentary. It's like got loads of great animation styles, when they're sort of telling a story in a documentary, and there's these animations that tell it. There's loads of really cool stuff like that, and loads of great anecdotes. When you can walk away and you think, I've got at least like 5 or 6 anecdotes I'd like to share with people now. It's just amazing.
Oh, great.
I will check it out. That sounds really interesting.
I also watched the documentary about Val Kilmer as well, which is on Amazon Prime at the moment. Which is kind of like pretty much just chronicling his life and all of his roles. He like filmed loads of stuff while he was on set of loads of stuff. And obviously he's not in the best in terms of health at the moment. So it's quite bittersweet, but still it was a nice, well put together documentary. Someone said it was like meditation filmmaking. It is like so chilled. You're kind of just like sat there just taking it all in. There's not too many like really extreme twists and turns and narrative bumps in the road. It's kind of just a nice celebration of a decent career. And he slates playing Batman for a while. He's like, I couldn't hear shit when I was in that Batman suit. There's like an inch of rubber on each ear. So he's silent. He said, all I can remember from starring in Batman Forever is just silence. That's literally it.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That'd be nice. Lovely bit of silence.
It's a very loud film as well, that.
Yeah, it was like he couldn't even hear Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey. He's just like, what are they doing over there, those two? They're off their heads. Yeah, but
the Riddler's doing his riddle. He's like, hey, can't. Obviously, his hand would be up here because that's where the bat ear would be. What?
Come again? Great. I love the fact that Two-Face is pretty much doing a Riddler as well, aren't they? They're both just doing the Joker, aren't they? Riddler and Two-Face are both
two different parts of the Joker.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Batman Forever for a long time, but just because of the way Ages felt like I'd kind of missed, I was too young for Batman 89 when it was at the cinema, and I had the others on VHS. I remember seeing like Batman Forever at the cinema. But he loved it. Thought the Riddler was ace.
Yeah,
I loved it too.
I think Batman Returns was my big Batman film. That one and the Batman and Robin for some reason. I watched that one a lot.
I like Mr. Freeze in that, and I know it gets a lot of flack, but Arnie's a charming guy.
To meet you.
I say that
Ice Age.
Every time we get the first freeze of the year, you get the first frost. I take a picture of it when you get the frost on the car, and I send it to my friend Dan and say, "Ice to see you."
Great. Does he respond?
He does every time.
Good.
Back and forth ice puns for the next 10, 15 minutes after that.
I mean, whatever keeps you going, man.
Well, I'm fully happy to. I don't mind getting the tweets. When we start to head towards winter, guys, I will fully embrace and respond to anyone who wants to tweet me with ice-related puns.
I look forward to it. So that was it. Apart from this week's movie.
Of the week.
Which is about some bloody werewolves being within. What have we got? So Werewolves Within is a 2021 American comedy horror film directed by Josh Ruben. And it's based on the video game of the same name from Red Storm Entertainment. I'm kind of aware of this game, but not loads. I've looked into it a bit more, but it's fairly new. It's like 2016, isn't it? I know it's like based on a famous like parlor game thing.
Secret Hitler.
Secret Hitler. Mafia is what it's called as well, right?
No idea.
Are you in the bloody Mafia? No.
Is this where you like wink at someone to kill them?
Is it an expansion of Wink Murder, Secret Hitler, and Mafia apparently? But yeah, it's like a social game, right? Where there are secret
name dropping Hitler a hell of a lot in this podcast. For a podcast that isn't even about Hitler, you mentioned him a lot.
Yeah, who's cocking his leg. He's a werewolf.
That hairy bastard. So it stars Sam Richardson, Milana Vayntrub, loads of people.
I'm not sure how that was pronounced.
She's got a vein and a trub. Loads of people that I recognize from things. There's like that Harvey Guillén, who's in What We Do in the Shadows TV show.
Yeah.
The dude who played like the Tinkerer in the new Spider-Man films. Recognized him. Just like a load of faces where I was like, who's that then? And I get up the old Letterboxd app and have a good old time.
That guy who played Emerson Flynn, Glenn Fleshler. He's got such an amazing voice.
Yeah,
Glenn Fleshler.
Yeah, he was in.
That dude. Yeah, I know he is. He's in loads of stuff. What am I trying to think of what he's in?
I feel like I know his voice from cartoons. Like I feel he probably wasn't, but I feel like he was in the Gargoyles TV show. Like he would be a cracking voice for one of those.
He's in Sex and the City as a character called Shmuel. I just read it out. Shmuel.
That's his Gargoyles name as well.
I think I know. I recognize him from Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, same.
He was like someone in that. And he's
was
also
he bored or was he walk? Can't remember.
He was bored. He was always bored on set. Come on.
Drone.
So yeah, it's I didn't see Josh Ruben scare me. I probably should have watched it before we did this, but did you both or just you, Lee?
Scare Me. There's my background picture here. Scare Me was one of my. Was it last year? Was it the year before? It was one of my favorite films.
Last year, yeah.
Whatever year it came out. You could tell it was a low budget thing, and it doesn't really have same as this. So I don't think it had too much sort of going on. Like they never really show much, but there's a lot in the audio design and the camera movement. That's kind of where they got their creativity or they got their production value from. So it's really similar. I think after seeing Scare Me was one of my favorite films, after seeing this and Scare Me, I think Josh Ruben there's something about his sense of humor that really tickles me.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit like some of the lines in this, the guy like, what did that eyeball say when the woman's looking through the hole talking? Yeah. And like the bits where like Joaquin's like, shut your dirty whole mouths, and I've got something to tell you. And it's just like, I don't know, there's something about the sense of humor that really, really tickles me.
Sorry, there you go.
Sorry, I was going to say did you both see The Wolf of Snow Hollow as well? Because obviously,
no, I didn't. No.
Oh, I did. I really liked it. I really liked The Wolf of
same
Snow
here.
Hollow.
So similar sort of setup. Obviously, Jim Cummings, it starring and directing and writing that. Different sense of humor, but similar in some ways, isn't it? Like the small town sensibilities, team of sort of strange, oddball ensemble cast. Sorry.
Yeah, there's definitely like parallels to draw. I feel like The Wolf of Snow Hollow is maybe that little bit step, and it is quite light and it is over the top, but it has like maybe a slightly darker and serious tone, like with the relationship with his dad. So maybe I'm not sure whether it's fair to say that the characters are a little deeper, or maybe the tone is just one octave lower, maybe a bit darker. But like
there is a reveal in that film that I thought this film was going to go the same direction.
Me too, for a few moments. I think we'll come to it, but I think the thing, and we talk about Josh Ruben's like writing and direction. I'm with you, Luke. I find that he's got a really nice sense of humor about him. But the thing that I like about it as well is that it's really pacey and it doesn't let up. Like, it's not that they do a joke and then everyone else is quiet, so you've got time to laugh. The film carries on, which is really nice, because then if something didn't quite land for you, then it's okay, because there's something else like any second now. Or it also invites a little bit of a rewatch value as well, because I could guarantee I've seen this film once and I really struggled to take notes, because there isn't a let up for you to stop and go, write down what happened there for a moment. Like, I feel like watching this again or on multiple viewings, you will see things that you didn't see and you'll hear things that you didn't hear. And it's quite dense material.
It's because throughout the film, you're trying to like deduce who could potentially be a werewolf. In the same way that the characters are, and you're kind of like scratching people off. You go, well, it can't have been that person because they were here when that happened and they must have seen this and done this. But I like the dynamic between the characters. Sam Richardson, I recently watched The Tomorrow War as well. Luke, you saw that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, that guy keeps popping up because he was in that Tim Robinson, I Think You Should Leave sketch show as well on Netflix. Yeah,
he's in Promising Young Woman as well. So obviously the last few years have been pretty awesome for him, and I really like him. And this was the first film I've seen with him, or anything that I've seen with him as the lead. And I thought he did really well.
Yeah. He's got really nice timing about him, and he's got a really nice just the delivery of the lines. I think whether this character fits him particularly well or anything, I couldn't say until I've seen him in more stuff, but he does embody it incredibly well.
Him and Milana Vayntrub should be huge stars, I think.
They're both fantastic. I'm not sure if it's a combination of the way that the language lands or the snowy setting as well. I feel like I'd quite happily watch these two in a series of Fargo or something as well.
When obviously, again, I don't want to, there are going to be spoilers for this movie from the get-go, but when two characters don't or can't end up together and you kind of feel disappointed, I think that shows for them in terms of actors and their dynamic that they had, that you should feel that way, because you go, oh, really? Come on, these guys would
just
give them a chance. Just give them a chance.
It's like the whole M. Night problem all over again, Ben. Like I would have loved it if they'd just got together and could have been happy, but then them haters would be like, wasn't even a bloody werewolf in that film, isn't it?
There's one point when I thought maybe there won't be any werewolves in this film.
That's what Ben was getting as well. Like, I just thought, like, is it just for a moment? I just thought, like, is it? Have we been sold a dummy here, and it is just going to be a guy?
In terms of ratings, this film is at a 6 out of 10 on IMDb, so not massively high. Rotten Tomatoes 86%, critics 81% user score. Letterboxd is at 3.3. So a couple of choice reviews here. There wasn't too many, to be honest. Connor wrote, "I'm literally falling asleep as I write this." 1 star, so he wasn't into it. And then Justin put, "Taking a page from the Clue book, Werewolves Within is a conceptually shallow adaptation that's way better than it has any right to be." 5 stars. In terms of the adaptation, I have no idea. I've never played the game. I don't know what it's taken from it. I saw here in the production notes on Wikipedia, the director, Josh Ruben, just done his first film, Scare Me, and then Ubisoft, he said they provided him with a VR thing or something to play the game. Like, he had no idea what he was sort of getting into, I don't think, but he just like wanted to make a movie and just made it, I guess.
So weird, isn't it? It seems like such a random property to like make a movie of.
I think it's not really like a known IP, is it?
I think it's sprung up in popularity with COVID in the same way as things like Among Us is an older game than you expect as well, right? It became popular because people are in lockdown, and I think it has had a boost in popularity based on that. And I know we were talking about maybe we'll try and have a game at some point. It's one of those social games and it exists in VR. The concept behind it is that there are one or more werewolves that are picking people off on each. You do like a day section and a night section. And in the night section, the werewolf's objective is to kill people. And then in the discussion piece, you are looking for, to try and deduce who the werewolf is, you and the other players.
It is essentially,
it
is essentially Among Us, isn't it? That sounds very similar.
Yeah, that's effectively the concept behind it. There's some nuance to it because I haven't played it. I can't comment on what the actual, the visuals or anything look like. But
I read something recently where it said Among Us, and I guess you'd apply it to Werewolves Within as well, is basically teaching people how to gaslight better. No, it was never me. I see all these years of playing Among Us, and now suddenly I'm a great pathological liar.
You two can be the boyfriend from Midsummer, the gaslighting king.
Oh yeah, it was what?
That's right. That's right. He gets his though, don't you worry.
Does he?
Yeah. Like, what do you think of before we go into the movie and its own merits? Like, we know we've had a long and sordid history with video game adaptations. How do you think it stacks up in that world?
Is it the best? What's the good video game adaptation?
This is difficult, isn't it? Because let's be honest, taking a game which is pretty much just a concept and then developing a movie based around that is a lot easier than taking a game which is like an established narrative with popular characters and and then developing an adaptation like that.
It's easier or harder?
Oh, what? Easy? What easy? Surely easier to do one which is like just a vague concept, because no matter what you come up with, no one's going to go, but they didn't really have this, did they? Like,
missed that.
From what I can tell, Werewolves Within is set in like some sort of like fantasy world where there's all like versions of like fantasy,
a medieval town.
Like, and everyone's assigned like a role. Like someone's the huntsman, someone's the I don't know,
butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. The three jobs that exist in the days of past.
The Tomb Raider movie is good. We talked about him earlier on. I've not seen him.
I think the new one is good. I've seen it on a plane and it was fine.
New one's all right.
Angelina Jolie's very well cast. It's just that the execution lets it down a little, right? But
she's perfectly cast. Perfectly cast for early 2000s Lara Croft, without a doubt. If you do want to hear us talk more about video game movies, we have done episodes on Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and Alone in the Dark. So that's a nice. I was going to say cross section.
I really like the Silent Hill movie. So
the Silent Hill movie is great at like taking a vibe and a look from a video game and like perfectly recreating it for the screen.
It's a great visual adaptation as well.
I think Silent Hill might be my favorite video game movie. Thinking about it, I just think it's disgusting and horrible and great.
So I think the Pyramid Head gives that, skins that lady outside the church.
Oh yeah.
Peels her like a nana.
Does skin come off like that? It just seems to slip
does
away.
If you twist
if you get the very edge bit, if you find the peel here on a person,
we've got it.
Come off like the top of a ketchup sachet.
Delicious.
This is up there. This is up there.
The point is that, like, as an adaptation, even if I was a fan of Werewolves Within, like, what would you expect from it going into it, other than I guess what you get. It's nice that it's got plenty of. It's nice. It's got plenty of humor to it.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is, sure, it might be up there with some of the best, but
Yeah, I'd agree. It's definitely a higher tier one. And if you look at Ubisoft properties, I think it's certainly been better received than their other recent effort. Obviously, they did Assassin's Creed, which was quite heavily panned, right? I haven't seen it. I watched the first 45 minutes and I was too tired, and I just never went back.
Yeah, it was.
But
came out of sync and came out of the
I was desynchronized. fell out the animus, and I was like, oh, this is not a genetic memory I want to relive right now. But yeah, obviously it's up against some stiff competition. 1993's Mortal Kombat is still a definitive masterpiece, and not in the world of horror in the slightest, but Detective Pikachu's great.
It's quite good. Yeah.
I wonder where you're going then. But it reminds me of like, what if they made a video game a movie adaptation of something like
Tetris,
Hungry Hippos? Do you know what I mean? Like where it's a concept more than I know it's a board game, but a concept more than
there are hippos and they are hungry. Well,
they're hippos, they're hungry.
Angry Birds. There was I haven't seen the movie.
There's an animated movie.
I've heard they're all right.
But I don't think they've taken the Angry Birds story. It's just like the characters they've given them
just
story,
voices
right?
and stuff.
Maybe that's the secret, Well, I say it's a secret. It can't be the secret to
don't stick
games.
to the source material.
Just don't stick to the source material. Well, there's an evil in this house, a resident evil, if you will.
We've figured it out. If it's a comic book or Avatar or Dragon Ball Z, you've got to stick to the source material.
Yeah,
so hard it hurts. If it's a game, you want to leave that shit.
loose concept only.
Just the concept.
Title only.
It's an aside, but there's a comic of Centipede, the old arcade game.
Yeah,
it's great. Really weird. Not what you'd expect. It's a guy in a post-apocalyptic planet where a big centipede has just eaten everyone.
I think that's got Dune, isn't it?
That's great.
I've not seen Dune. That's out soon, I think. Soon Dune?
Yeah.
It's Dune soon?
Soon Dune.
Dune is soon.
Next month after? Is October?
So, hang on a sec. This part of the head, the back of the head, what do you call that lumpy bit that sticks out? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know, just your head, skull.
Back of your head.
Head rolls.
Because I always called it a soon. I was like, that guy's got a big soon. And I think it's just something my friend said years and years ago, and I always thought it was a real thing.
Danny Longtongue again.
But then Kat said the other day, and I don't think I've ever said it to her. So maybe it is a thing.
That's where it happens. That's where it happens, yeah. Very strange. Well, big soon do.
Yeah.
So what have we got in this? So Sam Richardson's obviously the main character. Finn Wheeler, he's like a forest ranger. He's just been assigned to a place called Beaverfield. Milana Vayntrub, that's right, I'm saying it again. She's like a postal worker called Cecily.
Yeah.
And then there's loads of other people. Wayne Duvall is like this guy who's coming into the town. He's going to build a oil pipeline. There's like a woman who runs the hotel. There's like a couple who are a bit mentally deficient.
Like the Grease Monkey working class. They're all very, very characterful, I will say. Each character is like...
Oh, yeah. There's like a gay couple.
They've gone into the archetype barrel, and they've chosen these archetypes of these characters, these exaggerated characters that you'd meet in this town.
What do the gay couple... They run like a yoga studio?
Aren't they like tech millionaires? They're wealthy. They're
not sure if they're millionaires. Are we millionaires? Yeah. Well, no. Well, we kind of maybe.
So they're basically just a wealthy, well-to-do couple who have moved to the area quite recently because they're rich.
Yeah.
There's like a dude who's like a sort of hermit. No, what hermit? How would you describe this dude?
He's like a trapper, isn't he? He's like
that's right.
Yeah, he lives out of town and he's not interested in the community, just wants to be left alone.
Classic wilderness man.
Like a doom prepper. He lives on his own and self-sufficient, doesn't need anything.
Wears a bear skin on his head.
It's called Emerson. Is that a Ralph Waldo Emerson thing? Is that the book that they talk about? I can't remember what the book's called.
Sure.
Okay, what else? Who Joaquin. Oh, so the gay couple Joaquin with an N, and they're called Joaquin Wolfson. Their surname is Wolfson, and Cheyenne Jackson. Is that it? Oh, and there's the scientist lady.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Scientist lady.
Rebecca Henderson, Dr. Ellis.
So basically, it's like it's mainly an ensemble cast. Even though Sam Richardson's the lead, it's like an ensemble cast, and it's a whodunit with werewolves, I guess. One thing it made me think of a little bit was Knives Out, in terms of it's a similar sort of thing where it's like an ensemble and we're trying to deduce who. Am I using that word correctly? That's twice I've said that, and both times it doesn't sound right. Deduce.
Well, you seem to be saying the deuce.
As in what the
what the deuce? But I don't know. With Knives Out, I felt more invested in like trying to work out what was going on. Whereas
you were saying about like trying to figure out who was doing it. I wasn't even along for that ride as I was watching it. It was just a series of funny things happening on the screen for me at the time. With Knives Out though, I was fully trying to figure it out. And the thing is about Knives Out, the reveal at the end is like spectacular. Like when it all kind of unspools and you think, I was not expecting that at all. But this, I don't know.
There are knives out, but in a different way. Someone attaches them to their hand. We'll get to that.
Knives Out, I found it was twisting and turning, and I didn't see where it was coming. This one, I changed my mind a couple of times. We'll get to it when we get to the end. Karen and we both had a similar guess. We were both ultimately right with a very early guess, but we didn't want to be right for the whole film. I was like, I don't want to be right about this.
Yeah. So it starts with a quote. I don't know. It's Mr. Rogers. It's like something about look after your neighbor or watch your neighbors or something. It's meant to be done in a positive way, but the way it slams on the screen is like really sinister.
Watch your neighbor. They might be a bloody werewolf, mate.
Yeah, I was giggling at that. It's just the timing of the Mr. Rogers name that came up. I don't know. It's just the editing is really funny.
What's your like cultural capital that you have with Mr. Rogers? Because I know it isn't really a thing here. I know he's huge in the US, but I think we're all familiar with who he is, right? Just from parody and so on.
I actually had no idea, but I kind of figured the kind of person that he was, the kind of TV friendly guy.
Talking about, there's a documentary about him as well. There fairly recently.
Won't you be my neighbor? He's that guy.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to think if we have an equivalent here. I don't think we have such a beloved like
Tony Hart.
Yeah, maybe Tony Hart. He's still alright, isn't he?
Richard Madeley.
He's still alright. He's been dead for a while. What did you say?
Richard Madeley.
Oh, have you seen like Richard Madeley being compared to Alan Partridge? Like,
it's unreal.
My God,
it's unreal.
It is unbelievable. The one where he's like doing some documentary about squatters. It's insane. It is insane. Richard Madeley probably not, because he's not a
Mr. Rogers, because Mr. Rogers is beloved by all. So maybe Tony Hart. Maybe Tony Hart or like an older Neil Buchanan. Everyone likes Neil Buchanan.
And it would have been, sorry to bring him into it, but probably would have been Rolf Harris at some point until things went significantly downhill quite quickly.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that hurt when that one. That was a real heartbreaker. But yeah, like it is like Mr. Rogers is a beloved character that probably was fundamental to a lot of people's lives and had a very positive message. So straight away when this came on, I was like, okay, we're in for a fun time.
Yeah. So Finn Wheeler, the whole opening 20 minutes or so is he's moved to this town. Oh, in fact, he's listening to like some self-help tapes about the woman's like, just shout balls.
Yeah, he's shouting balls to himself, and he needs to be more assertive. And then he leaves like a rambling message on his what we believe to be sort of estranged girlfriend's phone. Like, I'm being assertive. I would like it if you called me back if you want to, but you don't have to. And that's just after we've seen. That's a little break that we get just after we've seen Amoida.
There is that is the opening sequences. There's a guy like texting somebody, isn't there, in the woods? And an unseen force was like zipping around and like yanks him off into the darkness.
Yanks him off in the bushes.
yanks him off in the bushes, not in a good way, and moiders him.
Yeah. So Finn Wheeler arrives at the town. He arrives at the kind of lodge, hotel, what do you call it?
Like the B&B where he's going to stay, is it?
Yeah.
Like the boarding house.
It's reminded me in a way of a couple of things. Reminded me of Twin Peaks a little bit. Also reminded me of Hot Fuzz when what's his name? Nick Angel turns up to the pub where he's staying, and it just felt like that, sort of policeman from out of town coming in. Although Forest Ranger obviously isn't policeman, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So we're introduced to it's quite well done. We're introduced to about 15 characters within the space of 15 minutes, and we get like a good gist of what they all are and who they all their weird quirks and histories. Janine, the owner of the place, her husband has apparently ran off with someone to Belize. And then we introduced the guy, the businessman who wants to put the pipeline in. And then he's kind of taken around the town with the post office lady.
Yeah, so
he's got lovely snowshoes as well, you must mention.
So you're right, yes. Cecily comes and meets him, and it's a very, as I say, it's a very quick introduction to all these characters. And then Cecily takes him around the town, and we meet even more of the characters. So we meet the sort of mechanic or sort of gearhead lady, and then it's a husband, right? They are married.
They're pretty funny, I must say.
He's just like a local idiot, and it's like, he comes back in the car, and it's like, what time do you call this? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, it's not a fucking time.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. The woman who's married to him, what's her name? She's sort of like a mechanic, isn't she?
Gwen.
I recognize her from a few. I think she's like randomly in an episode of Flight of the Conchords. So it seems like everyone's from this sort of pool of actors.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. There's a few more people as well. That guy who's like really touchy-feely, grabby, always trying to hug Cecily. Why can't I say that name? Cecily. Like he's always like, bring it in.
Italian island, don't you?
I just love Sicily, man. Come on. He's always trying to grab her, like trying to hug her out of the most random situations. He's like, bring it in. What the fuck?
And his wife is the like the lady that does like crafts and has the little dog.
Yeah. Crafts and little dog person.
I forgot about her. Yeah.
And
she's made him like a soap man, like a little soap figurine or something.
Yeah. But she hadn't even met him yet. So how does she already have that soap figurine man ready to go?
He did say it's a little pale, like it's like
you've made a lovely little pale me.
So he must have known that like a forest ranger was due to start that day. And then obviously the other two, they introduced the trapper dude as well. Kind of gets thrown into a situation with Finn pointing a shotgun at him, telling him to get off his land, and he's brought him a package as well.
One thing to say, that the Grease Monkey couple, they're expecting a package that Thingy keeps saying hasn't arrived yet, and it's something for a snowmobile, like an engine part or something.
Like the fuel injector for their snowmobile.
Without that, they can't get off the mountain.
That is key to a few things, I guess. That they can't get off the mountain, but also key to a certain reveal a little bit later. It's a really good. It's like a whistle stop tour of the town, introducing everybody through the eyes of Finn Wheeler, I guess. So it's a nice way of setting up the dynamic between certain characters, their relationships, but also who is trustworthy and who's not, potentially.
And I guess the big thing about the town is, you mentioned the guy that wants to build the pipeline. There's due to be a vote on it, and the town is roughly 50-50 split. So some are in favor of it, some are against it.
Brexit because all over again.
They're all due to make some money, right? So the arts and craft lady is going to be able to open an arts and crafts shop. And then the other two, they introduced the guy that wants to build the pipeline. There's due to be a vote on it, and the town is roughly 50-50 split. So some are in favor of it, some are against it. They're all due to make some money, right? So the arts and craft lady is going to be able to open an arts and crafts shop. The only people who aren't interested are the tech millionaire couple because
They
obviously they don't. Yeah,
they already have money. But wasn't Valerie the hotel owner? She doesn't want to go for it.
she's
Sorry,
more
Janine, not Valerie.
ecologically
Yeah.
minded, right?
The fact there is like a ecological what? There's someone staying at her lodge now who's come to
Scientist, yeah,
she's
who
dead
wants to sort of
against
fight
it.
against it, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of power struggles happening, which is interesting once things kick off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it ends a little bit ends with Cecily and Finn going into where it's someone's basement.
Is it a bar that's in the off season because it isn't like tourist season? Because he said she delivers the post to them in the winter and she gets use of their basement as a result.
Yeah.
So it's just
right.
like a really fun bar, like the best bar in my opinion.
Yeah, it's got like
lovely
gaming, axe throwing, a jukebox.
Yeah, 90s jukebox full of Ace of Base.
Yeah.
Full of Ace of Base, absolutely full. And here's where already, like it's quite early on, but already there's a bit of a romantic thing going on between Finn and, say it please,
Cecily.
Why does it confuse me so much? So obviously he's pretty much broken up with his ex-partner. They kind of get to the point and that they all understand that because I think he's a bit, I guess, in denial.
Yeah, he's like,
confused.
he reveals that he is like, there's been some sort of incident at work and he had to relocate rather than lose his job.
Yeah.
And he's like, she thought it'd be better if we would just be good for me and good for a relationship if we moved away. And she's like, oh shit, I've been broken up with, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it gets a bit close, a bit of Savage Garden comes on and they're having a lovely time together. She's taught him how to throw an axe, and you think it's going to be a romantic connection early on, but then
I mean, this is within an hour of knowing each other, right?
Yeah, even with the time being accelerated, like maybe they've known each other for an afternoon.
Yeah.
To be fair, you've landed on your feet if you've just been broken up with and gone to a small town where, people of your age. It seems like there's a lot of couples around. Don't know, there's too many people who are single, especially someone of your age. He's landed on his feet. The fact that she's immediately interested in him as well.
But it's very nice.
Go for it, Finn.
Yeah.
Lovely. She's funny. She can throw axes. She
can dance.
She has a lovely dance. She loves a bit of Ace of Base, and he blows it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he pretty much blows it straight away, which is. Yeah, his phone rings while they're potentially leaning in for a kiss, and he just immediately answers it without with literally no
brushes
regard.
aside. Is that hello?
Hello? Oh, it's you. And it's like a proper comedy, like angry voice on the other end as well. One that Luke Condor does very well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does say uncredited Luke Condor.
There you go.
But be enlisted as uncredited, you're kind of credited, so that's not right, is it?
So that's the only sort of negative point. Not negative. I did feel like that connection felt a teeny tiny bit forced. Like they would be so close that quick. I mean, maybe this is my experience in life. Things have never worked out that nice. But what she seems like genuinely kind of pissed off at him for not kissing her.
Yeah.
Within the first hour of knowing each other.
Yeah. So like I think it's just got maybe had this not been a horror film, I'd have accepted it. It's just nice that two nice people find each other, because Finn is incredibly nice in this thing, to a fault. In fact, that everyone makes fun of him for being too nice as the film goes. Like, isn't it just nice when nice things work out for good people? But it doesn't. Yeah. He's kind of blown it, at least for now.
So I'm not too sure what happens there. Somehow they end up back at the lodge.
I think that is the end. That is the end of that evening. It's the next. Well, we have the night, and then the lady who wants to open a craft shop, her little dog, she's letting him out to the toilet through the dog flap, and he gets chumbled up.
He gets chombled.
Chombled. You've only gone and been chombled. To which obviously she reacts in suitably hysterical fashion. Very upset, as you would be.
I'll be livid.
Yeah.
Be livid. And she kind of like goes to the lodge. She goes straight to the lodge, and everyone's kind of there, gathered, like, oh my God. And it's kind of like, because things have all happened at once, that everyone's kind of gathered at the lodge. So obviously a dog's died, but then those two grease monkeys turn up and say like the road's been completely wiped out. And then the phones aren't working.
Snow fucked. Yeah, the road is snow fucked.
Oh yeah.
And the telephone cables have fallen down, and then the power goes off.
Yeah, so Finn goes and have a little look around to see that like pretty much all the generators have been sliced. What looks like a big, horrible clawed hand of some creature.
Yeah.
And not only that, then while he's having a little bit of an investigate, he's digging around, and what should he find? What does he say? He's looking at things. He's like, oh, heavens to Betsy. And then he finds a big dead body. He's like, oh shit.
And when he goes in, they say, you look like you've just seen a corpse. And he says, yep.
That's
exactly what I've seen. So they go and find it, and it's Janine's husband, who obviously she thought ran away. We don't really see like how decomposed he is, so we don't get to sort of understand how long he's been there. But I guess like pretty much since he ran away. Do we ever know like how long it's supposed to have been?
It's been a month, right? Because we don't see his face at this point, but we come to understand later that this is the man that died in the opening scene that we saw from a little bit of text was 29 and a half days ago. So almost one full moon ago.
Oh, moon, eh? Moon. So yeah, they're pretty much, everyone is stuck in this. I mean, this reminded me a bit of, I guess, the Hateful Eight, where everyone's stuck in one place due to the weather and various other situations, and things pan out from there.
So no one can escape the town. The professor, so Dr. Ellis, takes some samples and endeavors to find out what sort of animal has attacked the husband and attacked the dog.
A hairy one.
Yeah. Oh, and is this the point that Cecily and Finn go to see Emerson to ask for him, because he's a trapper? They decide they're going to go, because it's the daytime right now. They're going to go and ask him if he can help see what this animal is that's attacked people.
Because he's kind of the guy you want on your side, isn't he? Seems like that kind of dude. But what do they see?
He's
the
not
leash, the collar of the dog.
Yeah, I really like this bit because they're already on edge when they're going to see him.
Can't get out the door.
And he's like, oh, I'm not going to help you. Like, I'm not. And they try to give him a little Mr. Rogers quote and say, oh, just be a good neighbor like Mr. Rogers. And he's like, I don't know who that is. He obviously grew up in this country where he wasn't a thing.
And then they're trying to leave, and they can't get out the door, can they? And this is a great. I mean, we've seen this loads of times, but it's still a great moment. Like the killer's like leaning in, like that. Well, sorry, I said the killer. The person who you might believe is the killer in this situation is leaning in, terrifying. He just unlocks the door for them.
Oh, and I love this. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie, I think, because they're like, oh no, please, this is what I was saying about how the rapidity of the lines, but they're both, so both Cecily and Finn are both babbling things out. It's like, no, please spare me, please. And it's like, no, please, don't. It's like,
what else is that happening? That exact sort of situation happens in something else, or someone's reaching in. And someone's like, no.
It is quite common, but I can't think of the other examples now.
Can I?
But it's really well delivered.
Yeah,
it's really well delivered. It's kind of like what you expect from if you watch like a Red Dragon or something like that, and when they're in the murderer's house.
Yeah. But he's obviously, this guy is obviously a red herring. I think it's pretty clear from the get-go that he is a red herring. I was thinking I'd be very surprised if it turns out to be that dude.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's almost too obvious. He's kind of hairy and wolfy looking anyway.
I was made to think that, like, oh, we're looking for one werewolf, but then I kept thinking, what if there's more?
Maybe there are two. Maybe it's a Scream situation.
Yeah. Exactly. There we go.
And I think in the game, it can be that in the game of Werewolves Within, there can be more than one wolf. It's like, I think there may be multiples. That's the same with Among Us as well, right? There might be more than one imposter.
Still not played Among Us.
Oh, actually,
I did the tutorial,
Maybe.
but then
I don't know.
never actually played it.
I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where I play it like once or twice and I go, I'm done with that forever.
I get it.
I get it, but it's not making me feel anything. You know what I mean?
Doesn't spark joy. So.
No, it's not sparking joy at all. So yeah, pretty much everyone barricades themselves in the lodge now.
They opt to have a little sleepover because it's too dangerous. And having seen the collar in Emerson's house, they're convinced that he's the killer. So they're all basically hiding from him.
Wow. What are they doing? Just waiting it out? Or
they all get to sleep. They're all in bed. And then Thingy gets...
Yeah, could you go to sleep? I kept thinking that, especially someone's wearing a face mask. I'm like, you'd want to have your wits about you and be able to open your eyes.
Oh, they all have weapons as well. Thing is, has anyone got any guns?
Oh yeah, everyone's got guns.
And everyone's got. And
Thank
thing is
you,
like,
America.
oh God, it's only a little one. It's just like I don't know what it is. A little pistol. Just a teeny tiny one. Just a little. And everyone's like swinging the guns around in each other's faces and stuff.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a nice send up of not just America, but also like small town America as well. I liked it. It made me laugh.
And you're right. They all go to bed. And again, the touchy feely guy is like, "Oh, Cecily, do you want to share a bedroom?" And she's like, "No, I'm okay."
Oh yeah, he says like, "Would you feel safer if my gun was in your bed or something?" Like, he words it really strangely.
Nope. she just goes, nope. Because when the dog first gets killed, he goes, "The dog's dead. Bring it in." To her, and she was like, "Absolutely
literally
not."
ducks underneath him as he goes. Yeah, but yeah, they're all in bed, and then the same touchy feely husband. It's his turn to get slapped off out of bed and out of the room. He's being attacked, and the werewolf has his hand off.
Bites his hand
and
off,
he gets shot.
And then yeah. So the grease monkey woman, whose name is Gwen,
Gwen
obviously sees something. She said it moved too fast, so she couldn't see what it was. But you're just in a fairly narrow corridor. I'm sure you would have seen something. But she just starts firing her gun willy nilly at the werewolf and shoots Pete as well. So not only is it had his hand off, but he's been shot where in the sort of in the chest as well.
Yeah, and he's like, she's like, "Oh no!" He said, "No, something attacked him. I didn't shoot him." Both of those things have happened, and he starts to bleed out of this injury. But he's alive. So they take him to try and patch him up a little bit.
Dr. Ellis takes a bit more hair, and she's got like a weird little scientist setup, and she's got the spinny tubes. On a screen, it says like decoding.
Yeah, it's like that machine from the Relic.
What program is that?
What DNA have got.
Yeah, what program is that?
This is Norton's DNA decompiler.
She's really funny though. Just like looking over her shoulder, like secret scientist-y, and saying, "I'm doing experiments,
doing science work."
Yeah.
So she basically is the person who first mentions anything about a werewolf. She says lycanthrope. And luckily, a few people there know what that is.
Yeah,
which is handy.
Is this bit where they go to get her and she shoots through the door?
Yeah, she works out. She's worked it out. Someone else has mentioned werewolves.
That's so funny. She looks through the hole, and then she speaks, and the guy goes, "What did that eyeball say?"
and that's the guy that's already mentioned werewolves. So when they're downstairs in the bar, it goes, "Could be a werewolf," and he goes, "Don't be stupid."
Yeah. And that was when she fires through the door, but then Parker, the dude who wants to put the pipeline in, goes in and then basically claims that she killed herself.
Yeah, they have a scuffle behind the door, and then he comes out going, "Oh no, she shot herself. She was mad, I tell you."
I don't even know what did happen, because he could have still don't know, because he's not
regardless of werewolf situation or not. He could have easily. We don't know what his capabilities are. I mean, he proves later on that he's quite handy
and capable of attacking people. I think my read on it is that well, we'll never know for sure, but I feel like he killed her because she was trying to keep people out of the room.
And she was trying to stop the pipeline.
Yeah.
Adds
Which
a
is
whole
kind of the
new
point,
layer.
isn't it? Like it's supposed to make her suspicious. Then they all start pointing the guns at each other in the living room and arguing really loudly. And then Gwen is like playing air guitar as they're like shouting at each other.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the outcome of that was. I think they always kind of go, I'm going home. Or...
Finn decides to put the guns away for a time, doesn't he? He's like, okay, come on, we've got to put because this is where he has his speech about people still being neighbors, and still like, you know, you can hate each other tomorrow. Right now, you've got to do your best to work together. But things continue to escalate and they continue to argue. This is like when they're having a row where the craft lady, whose name I should look up so I don't have to keep calling her that, she's like, oh, and Pete's had his hand bitten off, and he's like, I've had my hand bitten off, and he's obviously covered in painkillers, and he opened like he's bringing it up there. Oh, my hand's disappeared thanks to the background. It looks like my hand's off. So I bring it there. It is. Yeah, her name is Trisha. So Trisha's like, Pete's hand's been bitten off, and things continue to escalate. And despite Finn manages to hold them together once, but eventually a number of them do head out, where things really start to dissolve and escalate incredibly quickly, right?
Yeah. So one of the tech millionaires gets stabbed in the neck with a
stabber.
What do you call it? It's like to get sap out of a tree.
Yeah.
Tree sapper.
I think that's a gruesome way to go. Because she's like, I really want my craft store. I think she even says that.
Yeah, she's like, oh, why are you doing this? And it's like, yeah, she really wants the craft store. So she has now started acting out because it's really been like kind of het up in the fact that this is some people are claiming that it's people who are going to vote the other way in the election for the.
At this point, when everyone started killing each other, essentially, this was the point where I was like, I bet there's not even going to be a werewolf. I bet something's happened where somebody's set off this chain of events, and now everyone started killing each other, and it's like, well, who was the werewolf in the end? And like, there wasn't a werewolf. We were all the werewolves all along.
Yeah, within.
It's like a Freddy Krueger moment where Thingy is like taped a load of knives to his fingers.
So yeah, Marcus has made himself a werewolf claw. It's like, I am the wolf.
He said, I'm a full-time werewolf. He's like calling them part-time werewolves because they turn into werewolves and they're not werewolves all the time. I'm the full-time werewolf.
Werewolf all the time. But it's quite deadly because he like slashes at Finn at one point. Like he goes, this is my work shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just slashes at him, and then it all just goes absolutely mad in like this short sequence because keep me honest, guys, if I run out here. So Marcus, with his like slashing hand, he slashes at them and then runs out of the door, where Gwen then reverses over him with the car.
Yeah.
While shouting, hurry up to him, who she just run over.
She's run over. And then she is then shot in the cab of the car and killed by
Arts and craft lady.
Craft store woman,
Yeah,
so then Cecily says, this time's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and then Trisha backs them into the house. Her husband, is it Pete? Yeah, Pete is there with his hand off. Does he just die on his own because he's had a hand off and already been shot, or does something happen to him?
Possibly.
I don't know.
Sure.
I think
it was getting a bit nuts at this point, wasn't he?
He was getting a bit nuts. So Trisha has them held up, and at that point, so Joaquin bashes her head in while they're backed up, and Finn's trying to calm her down. Joaquin bashes her with a poker, and she sort of falls to her knees and goes, "Is she going to be all right?" And she might be. Then she falls into the fire.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was good. Joaquin at this point is like saying that it's Cecily because she was the 7th born or something like that. Is that what he says? Or is it someone else?
Oh yeah, she's the 7th born.
Yeah, so he's like calling upon some like old legend that he heard growing up, and he pretty much says it's her. And I think this is when Parker goes a bit nuts.
Parker has turned up dressed as Van Helsing. I guess a point that we've missed over is before that the few people that stayed at the guest house ventured back outside. For a minute, Cecily even appears to suspect Finn because he points a knife at that. She finds like a number of newspaper cuttings that say about murders that have occurred in a couple of parks that he's allegedly visited.
He holds the knife out in a weird way. He's almost like taking it, but he's like
because it smells. I think because he pulls a face and he's like that. And I think it's meant to look quite sinister, but then he's like, smell that.
It smells of diesel. So they found that in Parker's room. Fast forward back to where we were because we've gone back a little bit. But so then Parker, now dressed as Van Helsing, has turned up with like a set of crossbow bolts. He deals with the Joaquin situation, who has Cecily held up, and he almost hits Finn, but then shoots Joaquin with his crossbow bolt. And then he grabs Cecily and tries to tempt Finn out because he thinks that Finn is the antagonist, because he also found a diesel-covered knife in his room.
Yeah.
What are these diesel-covered knives, man? It's confusing. Basically, the whole situation is at the moment it's just nuts, where it's just trying to drop in as many like clues to what could be the final reveal.
Yeah, and so no one trusts each other. Thankfully for Finn, Joaquin isn't quite dead, and he shoots like the sort of phallic gas tank.
There's a sneaky budget thing going on here where it cuts to very, very far off the mountain. We just got like a little muzzle flash sort of effect.
Like that, eh?
Yeah, it's really smart. I mean,
it's smart because it shows like the wilderness as well, like how far away they are from people.
Yeah.
Like all this crazy stuff happening, and not that far away, no one would ever know.
Yeah. A big kaboom, which is enough to take care of Parker. Finn has shielded Cecily. Joaquin goes on to die, and they have survived. And the power comes back on.
Yeah.
And they've bloody done it. They've made it. And there were no werewolves within at all. Everything is happy.
Yeah. They go back to the lovely bar and they go, let's just enjoy the rest of our day.
Yeah. Finn's worried he's about to die because, I've been terribly injured. She's like, no, you're not going to die. You saved me. That's
you'll be all right.
Just hang in there. I'll go and get something to help you out. Then he gets a bit better and starts to wander around, and we hear a familiar sort of text message sound that we've heard at another point in the film.
Yeah. The prologue.
Prologue.
Right.
When he goes into a room, he finds loads of packages as well that have obviously not been given to their
including
recipients.
What was it? The fuel injector.
The fuel injector. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
heartbreaking reveal, right?
Heartbreaking reveal, an ID as well, postal worker ID, which belonged to that guy. What's his name? Dave.
So this is the hotel owner's husband that vanished. So it's gone back that far, right?
Yeah. And there's the reveal. Obviously, isn't. Oh, Cecily is the werewolf, and then she immediately transforms. They talk for a little while first. They're trying to.
We also get she kind of deconstructs the character she's been so far. Like she kind of walks back on a lot of the things that we liked about her.
I think this is insult to injury. It makes it feel even worse. So like, oh, can't you be a werewolf but still have genuinely liked him? That'd be so painful.
It's like when you meet someone and you think they're awesome, and then suddenly, after a few weeks, a certain character trait comes out, and you're like, "Hang on a minute, maybe this is just maybe I can get over this. Maybe I can see past it." And then no, as time goes on, absolutely not.
Meet someone wonderful, and then you're having the greatest day. You've maybe just said you love you for the first time, and they spit on a homeless person or something. It's like,
do it then. What, me? Yeah, you go on. I've done it.
It's
You do it.
tradition.
Oh, tradition is part of the world.
Now punch him.
Now punch him. Well, do it then. I'll punch you. Yeah, pretty much that. That's how you feel. It is a bit of a gut punch where you're just like, out of everybody, you know, I think even if it turned out to be Finn, I'd probably be less kind of devastated than it did when it turned out to be Cecily.
And you're right, Luke. She kind of walks back on all those things and says like, oh,
too good to be true.
It is too good to be true. You genuinely think that someone's going to be turned on by your like camping in Yellowstone stories and you being like criminally nice. And she almost sort of shares that it's frustrating that you're so nice, that it was so close. I could have had them all kill each other. And then I could have, you know, a girl's got to eat. I think she exactly says, like, I could have had them out here in the ice. And I could have eaten right until spring. But you had to be, you know, pathologically nice and stop them from killing each other and save the day. And now it's trouble. And I still wasn't sure that she wasn't going to say, oh, do you want to be a werewolf then?
Yeah.
He does a nice monologue here where he kind of says, like, it's not bad to be nice. I know I'm nice, but, you know, this is why. And it's not actually, it's not all that bad. So
nice
screw you.
And then she transforms and he goes, oh, heavens.
The transform, it reminded me of, like, I don't know, you know, when a character from Buffy like reveals himself to be evil.
That's what I thought. It was a little bit TV. I was going to ask about the transformation, what you guys thought about it. I thought it was a little bit TV. And I guess that's the budget thing. Because so far we hadn't seen anything. And I thought there isn't enough budget here for special effects, really.
Yeah.
It was a bit TV, but I also felt like I didn't want a massive, long, overdrawn, ridiculous, over the top
bit late in the game for that.
It felt like we should have just. I wanted something different, and it was different. But did it work for me? Maybe not. I don't know. I didn't feel, especially there was a bit where he's hiding around the corner and she's just walking around. I was like, did I feel as much of a threat from her?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I wasn't offended by the transformation. I didn't think it was. I don't think it was awful. And I haven't seen any Buffy for a while. In my mind, Buffy transformations are when people are vampires, they just have slightly frownier eyebrows.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
If you're a vampire, you've got a real sneer on you, maybe a little scrunched up nose.
I think if you're a werewolf, you just get yellow eyes and teeth. I did think that's what they were going to go for in this, just long teeth.
Not a full transformation.
I would have been fine with.
I'd have been fine with that.
What are the wolves like in What We Do in the Shadows? Did they turn into proper wolves?
I don't think you really see very much, do you? When they turn into werewolves, it's kind of like the camera running away, isn't it? I don't think
I only really think of seeing them as, like, you know, people in like duffel coats and stuff.
I'm looking at some werewolves, some Cecily Werewolves Within concept art. Looks pretty good right now.
It reminded me a little bit of the.
I'll put a little link in the old chat.
Like the PlayStation 2 game Primal.
Primal. I remember that. Yeah,
that does look pretty cool.
It didn't need it, as I said, it didn't need a super over the top transformation, but I don't know, something about it didn't quite satisfy. It was either like they either had to go all the way or they had to do almost nothing, and it felt like they kind of got stuck in that sort of middle ground.
I feel like this vampire. I was about to show him my hand earlier here. It feels like that werewolf would fit with the vampires from 30 Days of Night. It feels like those designs would work.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
we get this transformation, and then one of your favorites, Ben, a Home Alone moment. She gets snow shoveled by a neighbor who we thought was a bad man.
Turns up way too late in the day, dude. I know you saved my life, but way too late. So he shovels her in the noggin. Doesn't Finn have a bit of a fight with her first, and he just hide, and then
I'm not sure if he turns up.
Axes.
She turns up. Is it before or after the axes? Because I think he knocks her down with the spade, and it's like we get it's just being. Then she's actually fine, and she attacks him and throws him. I think that's when Finn grabs the axes that he learned to throw earlier.
And then obviously they take her out to a degree, but then I think we think she's dead. but then she makes a final attack. There's quite a good line here, obviously, where they're talking about going back to the lodge and getting Janine to make them a sandwich.
Yeah, that's before. So he throws the axes that don't actually get her. She sort of pins him down, and then he gets her in the neck with a snowshoe.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about, oh, so we've done it, and we see in the background Cecily is struggling back up. And as they talk about, as you say, Ben, oh, we could go back and get Janine to make us a sandwich, just as like Cecily dives through the air to land on them before being blown away with a shotgun blast. And then who should be the one firing the gun? But our old friend Janine. Make your own damn sandwich.
Where did Janine go? After the party, she just went to bed or something.
They told her to, when they heard some noises in the house, they told her to stay, like go and lock yourself in your room. So she was just at the house. I'm assuming she just came out and saved the day. Yeah. And Cecily isn't like she doesn't appear to be an overly supernatural werewolf. You don't need silver bullets or anything to kill her. It appears she is just like an animal that if you bash with enough snow shovels and snowshoes and shotgun shots, then that'll be enough.
Yeah. So Thingy got a bit there, didn't he? Emerson. So I feel like he is going to turn into a werewolf.
Yeah, I did wonder that, but then then I wondered, is that part of the mythos that doesn't come into it because like she also died without magic? So I guess if they wanted a sequel, then you could go back and do that.
The rules aren't established, and I guess they're not all that important, are they?
Yeah,
which is nice. But yeah, that's it.
But I was very sad Cecily turned out to be the thing. I would have just liked it to be a nice story about a nice man.
I didn't remember what the credit song was, but there was a beautiful harmony. There's like a man and a woman singing in the credit song. I'm going to listen to that again because I really enjoyed it. And then that's it. So I've got a bit of name game if you guys are ready.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one, very similar film. This one was a feature adaptation of a video game based on an old English poem starring Ray Winston.
Starring Ray Winston?
Is it Ray Winston? I think.
Oh no! Werewolves Begin. Werewolves Within.
Yeah.
Yes, very good.
So we want a feature adaptation of a video game where werewolves attack a small town, and one of them is super drunk on alcohol made from juniper berries.
Werewolves with gin.
Werewolves with gin. I wasn't too sure if you'd know the juniper berry thing. I think everyone does.
Isn't that just you make gin? We did a gin making contest once and basically just had to dump some juniper berries in some vodka, and that's gin now legally.
Yeah. I think I did the same.
There you go.
Mine tasted like hairspray. It was awful.
Lovely. VO5.
Another one here, feature adaptation of a video game where werewolves attack a small town and they arrive with the guy from The Office who fancies the receptionist.
Werewolves with Tim.
Oh, Tim. I was going for Jim, but yeah, the UK one is Tim. I think that says a lot about which is your preferred Office.
Yeah. I've never seen The American Office.
Oh, it's one of the best sitcoms ever made. It's so good.
Oh, damn. Sorry.
Next one, feature said video game. Werewolves attack a small town with great jokes that make people smile.
Werewolves with Grin.
Werewolves with Grin. And last one here, feature adaptation of the video game where werewolves attack a small town with Bruce Campbell, but he only wants to be referred to by his nickname.
Werewolves with Chin.
Werewolves with Chin. Well done. 5 out of 5.
Nailed it.
Hell yeah.
Good name game.
That was a good name game. It was quick fire.
Need to rate the movie.
Someone go first.
Well, I just feel like I'm just
Luke and his B minuses.
The only score
again.
I'm gonna go with a B plus. I feel like I would enjoy this film more with repeat watches. It's like the little bits of the line, the dialogue and stuff that I caught on this watch, I really, really enjoyed. it's like I said, the sense of humor is just so silly, and I feel like it really kind of struck a chord with me. I feel like maybe like the third act maybe doesn't come to, it goes a bit mental, a bit quick. I'm not too sure. I don't know if it comes together quite in the right way. But I don't know. I enjoyed it, and I feel like I would happily watch it again. It feels like it could become a comfort movie. It's one of those that it's just enjoyable to hang around with those characters being crazy. Yeah. B plus.
I might go a little. I might go a little bit less, just because, right? So I haven't seen Scare Me, so this is my first instance of watching a Josh Ruben movie. So I'm just gonna base it on its merits. I mean, I thought it was a great comedy. I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't sure how it worked for me as a horror. And as I said, that final third of the movie, like the third act, I did find myself a bit like, wait, what? And like getting a bit lost, and maybe almost like my attention, it wasn't keeping my attention as well as it did in the first opening parts.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go just for a C plus, but it's definitely one of those movies I would like to see again at some point in the future, just to see. Now I know what the twist is, in a similar way to The Village. Now you know the twists. Watch the movie again from a different viewpoint. I'd like to do that. So yeah, I'm gonna go for a C plus with this one, but could be more eventually. Who knows?
Oh, I was really torn. I was probably sitting. No one can ever give anything a B minus again. We've overplayed it in the last couple of weeks, but I feel like I kind of have an opinion that's between the two of you. I think that maybe when I was watching it, it didn't grab me as much as some of those other examples, and they're not all horror examples. I don't think it grabbed me quite as hard as the things like Knives Out or like the Wolf of Snow Hollow, which I think I immediately was really into when I watched it last year. But I also see Luke's point as well of how it's incredibly quickly paced, and I think the dialogue was incredibly sharp, and I just really like the humor that it has about it. So, and I think I probably would stand to watch it again. It would be something that I could put on again and get different things out of. So I think, having talked to you two about it today, I'm going to go more towards Luke's direction and give this a B. I think I'm going to watch this again, and that will cement that rating, because everyone in it is incredibly likable, and much like you and your Clive Barker Renaissance predictions, Luke, I think we'll see a lot come from a lot of the people in this movie. You know, particularly the two leads, and I think we're going to see a lot more from Josh Ruben in the coming years as well.
I wonder what he's got going on. I didn't realize, but he's from the College Humor crowd. I don't know, did you used to watch College Humor videos back in the day?
Yeah, some of them for sure.
Yeah. I don't know what's got on IMDb. So have a quick look.
While you're looking it up, I know we exchanged a couple of tweets when this movie was being promoted. I mean, if we can, one of these days, if you're listening, Josh, or your marketing team, come and talk to us about what you got coming up. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
Love to know.
Nothing on IMDb, so hopefully it's something in the works. Interesting.
I think this has been fairly well received. I mean, you look at what did you say, Luke, when you looked at the ratings of in the 80s on Rotten Tomatoes critics and things. So, you know, and I imagine budget-wise, it probably, as is with all horror, right? It's usually quite frugally spent. So hopefully it's done well enough, and we'll see him pick up some more stuff.
Yeah. Cool. So next week we are doing. What are we doing next week?
Life Force next week.
Life Force.
Already?
Toby Hooper's Life Force. Yeah, flying through August.
Have you guys seen Life Force before?
A long time ago. Jean-Luc Picard and his space vampires.
Oh yeah. This would be interesting. It'd be funny. I watched
Have
it
you seen it?
Yeah, last year or so. It's a movie.
Oh my goodness!
Very interesting.
Is it a B minus? We will find out.
Cool. All right. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to follow us all on Twitter. At Ben_Errington.
Yes.
Is it free? Or is that just your email
Just
address?
Ben_Errington.
And he's changed his. So Andrew Turner, writer. Or,
it's at Andy CT writes.
Yes, around about that. Yeah.
And what's yours? LukeCondor.writer.com / at
https://
Have that in there.
At Luke of Condor, and that's Condor with a K.
And we've had some lovely messages on the Twitters recently about a couple of people that discovered our nonsense. If that is you and you've discovered our nonsense, if you want to suggest a film, get in touch. Drop us a little thing at #HorrorHangout. That's a thing you can do. We'll find it.
We'll find it. Yeah, exactly. #HorrorHangout or at Hawk and Cleaver across all the social platforms, all of them. Give us some love. We'll read out, because we've had a few recent messages. We'll read some of them out on next week's episode and chat about how they made us feel.
Yeah.
Spoilers, pretty nice.
Spoilers, you're pretty good, man. Yes.
You can become a patron over at patreon.com/Hawk and Cleaver. Thanks to Kovac Cowman for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please leave a review and remember to hit subscribe and join the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. And thanks to Ben and Andy for being right horror dudes.
And to
Thank you,
Luke.
guys. What a pleasure. See you next time.
See you soon. Bye.
Toodle pip.
Toodle pipples.